Welcome back to Hack City, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Joe DeLeone, Sean Anderson, two former FCS football players. We're back doing FCS commentary. Sean's going on vacation, but we are going to dig into a couple of episodes that are going to be coming out while Sean's away to set the table for what's going to be an awesome FCS season. We haven't done a good job of keeping up with it over the past couple of months, just because there's been a lot of things going on, a lot of things changing with my career, your career, all these things, but we're getting back into the rhythm of talking FCS. That, at the same time, Sean, I think provides us with a great opportunity to get everybody caught up if they missed anything, because the FCS has not gotten a ton of coverage on all these insane moves that have happened. I want to start by talking about what happened with South Dakota State. Whole coaching staff leaves. They go to Washington State. Dan Jackson, the Idaho defensive coordinator, steps in. Mark Gronowski also leaves, goes to Iowa. Chase Mason is expected to be the next quarterback. They also added a couple of pieces through the transfer portal. But we're getting a completely new look Jackrabbits team with Jimmy Rogers heading to Washington State.
Yeah, it's a shakeup, and it's a substantial one for a team that's been so successful like South Dakota State has. So a team that has vaulted themselves into the top 5 year after year, candidates, and pretty concrete at that. South Dakota State's been able to do that. It is concerning, and Jackrabbit fans should have every right to be concerned. But from what I've seen from this program is that they've been able to establish a culture over years and years and years of success, winning, and how it's done. And that comes from seeing NFL players come through your program, leave your program while staying in it, and then proceed to the league to be successful. How did they do it? I'm a freshman now on campus. Let me do exactly what Tucker Kraft did. And you know what? Guys are doing it. And that's why they've stayed so good through coach turnover. And transfer portal stuff, we know the FCS gets picked apart. It'll be a big theme throughout these FCS, get back to shows. But yeah, South Dakota State, huge changes. Still confident in them, though, I think, overwhelmingly.
I think, well, right. So that's the big key with this. I think that it's really easy to everyone rally against South Dakota State and point out the uncertainty. Yeah, there's going to be uncertainty, but they have still been able to maintain success. We forget, some might forget, South Dakota State fans don't forget, but they already went through a coaching change. Jimmy Rogers was not like a longtime coach that was there.
Right.
It was a very brief stint, young guy who took over the program, and they eventually had to reset. They're resetting once again. They are one of the few FCS programs in the new era that is built with a foundation for sustained success. We saw it the 2 times that we went. The people that you talk to around the program, they point out the financial investment that's in that football program. I just find it hard to believe. I know there's a little bit of an unknown with Jackson taking over and not knowing how good of a coach he's going to be, and having a bunch of players on their roster leaving and going to Washington State and not having Gronowski. It's going to be a lot that you're going to have to battle through. But if I still had to pick them to go to the FCS playoffs, I'm still going to do it.
Right.
They were very high on my ballot. We're going to do a ballot show at some point soon in the next week or so. But I have no reason to feel like South Dakota State won't still maintain the footing that they've had. Will they win a national title this upcoming year? Probably not. It would be very, very hard
tough
to expect with the hard-ass reset. One of those resets where you got to stick a paperclip in the back.
Where there's a lot of guys filling in. A lot of guys are like, oh, I guess I'm the starter now. Okay, I'm starting now. Time to learn and time to step up and do it. But they're also, with the FCS getting picked apart in the transfer portal, and it's not just FCS to FCS anymore. It's you're getting picked apart by FCS and a ton by the FBS. South Dakota State is still not that much worse off than I'd say a majority of other programs, because they're getting picked too. And they were coming in way worse than South Dakota State was. So I'm not that worried, because they still got it good. They still have the fan base. They still have a real culture in Brookings. So you go to South Dakota State, you're going to play hard-nosed football, and they're just going to get right back to it. That's the only way I can expect it, because this isn't just an isolated incident where South Dakota State's roster just vanished. No. Everyone's going through stuff like this.
Yeah.
Coaches are moving around more than ever in the FCS. So many jobs, so many players leaving. So the FCS is just going to have to learn how to adapt and learn genuinely how to adapt. That trait of we got to stay on our toes at all times.
My big thing for preseason hype for picking teams that I have a lot of faith in for how they're going to do this upcoming year, a lot of it was based on who has the most returning starters. Even if, admittedly, some of those starters weren't very good, if you have returning production, it's important. Other coaching change that happens, this one was hugely significant. Mark Farley, who is the longtime head coach of UNI, came on the show actually at one point. I had a couple people DM me after I booked that interview. Were like, how the hell did you get Coach Farley on the show? Because apparently he hates doing interviews. I don't know how I managed to pull him. He is going to be replaced by Todd Stepsis of Drake. Drake was pretty good last year. Surprisingly good. Drake.
For Drake, yes, they
good.
were surprisingly good last year. They weren't the Drake that we're seeing get drubbed over and over again. 8-3 overall, 7-1 in conference. For Drake, not bad. Way to be, Todd. That's a good season for Drake, and it's enough to I think, have confidence in the guy you're hiring from that program. You're turning around a team, it's Drake. And if you can find some success there, I think it means that you have something cooking genuinely.
Other move that happened, another coach who stepped down, Bubba Schwiegert, who was a big reason for North Dakota's recent rise to success over the past 5 or so years. Eric Schmidt of San Diego State, the defensive coordinator, will be taking over North Dakota. When I was doing my preseason ballot, I was kind of shocked to see not many people were high on North Dakota. They're still bringing back a lot of starters, a lot of guys that have experience from last year, but obviously going to be a new face leading this team.
Yeah, San Diego State last year, 114th in total defense in the FBS, taking the DC. I'm just saying, on paper, that's tough for me to sit here and say, I got supreme confidence in this guy to come in and North Dakota is going to be rolling. They're going to push North Dakota State. All the stuff that, you want to say when you have a new coach come in. But to keep it real, because I feel like we try to do that on this show pretty often, that's not something that instills a ton of confidence in me. But he could be talented. He could have a lot of plans. He could have a great vision for the program, and I'm not going to knock that. But the optics, not perfect walking in. Looking at this one. He
was the special teams coordinator at the University of Washington during their playoff run. Bit of a weird track there.
Seen success, though. I don't mind a coach that's seen success and lived in it a little bit.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of the special teams coordinator of a playoff team to G5 DC to FCS head coach. The first thing I always immediately ask is, why didn't Kalen DeBoer take him with him to Alabama? That's always the first thing that pops in my head. It's not like he jumped from that special teams job to the Auburn DC job or like the Texas or not DC job, special teams coordinator job. It's not like he took like a big special teams coordinator job somewhere else or maybe a position coach job at a big program if he wanted to have this track to moving on to a DC. It's a little weird when you kind of make that jump down after you were a part of a pretty premier program.
Maybe you want to just be, maybe he's one of these guys that just wants to be a head coach and tried to find his path. And if he starts winning, then, then we look like the fools for him not being a special teams coordinator in the FBS. So a winning head coach is always better than an assistant coach that's anywhere, in my opinion. You're the big man, you're getting wins, that matters.
Anyone who listens to this show knows that we're often fools. That's quite literally the theme.
It's not a grain of salt that you should take us with. It's a grain of foolishness.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
Whimsy. That's it. That's always my first thought when there's some pissed off, 55-year-old guy in the comments just screaming at us. I'm like, there was this one guy who we were talking about Montana, and this one guy kept commenting. He was like, you don't know what Montana football's about. You haven't been alive long enough, and you don't know what it's like out here. Just all this crazy shit. And I wanted to comment back. Sometimes you just have to look at life with a little bit of whimsy and curiosity and enjoyment. Not everything needs to be angry and pissed off all the time.
It's hard for us to get pissed off on this show because I like talking FCS football. You listen to the Hack City NFL, Anthony Richardson, that's pissed off. This is good conversation about a beautiful subconference of football.
Yes. This one I'm the most excited about. I'm a big Brennan Marion fan. He had a massive ascension from William & Mary offensive coordinator, go-go offense creator, one of the most unique and most difficult to stop offenses in college football. I really thought that Brennan Marion was going to make the jump to like a big offensive coordinator job, like SEC school, Big Ten school was going to say,
someone wants a huge shakeup.
Yeah, hey man, you need to get in here. We need to really start screwing with these teams because we couldn't move the ball last year. Instead, Sac State's throwing around dough. We're going to talk about Sac State a little more in a second because they are the ugly girl at the party right now with a lot of money in their pockets.
Mm-hmm.
They hired Brennan Marion. They brought in Jaden Rashada. They're being awfully aggressive. And we're going to do a second episode of this, by the way. We're going to talk about major transfers. Brennan Marion going to Sac State, they can make some serious noise, and it might not be in the FCS for very long.
If he wasn't going to go to Sac State, and if he were to stay in the FBS, I wouldn't have minded seeing him go to Iowa and see them completely flip that program on its heads. Sac State is super interesting. If you have been following the FCS, even if it's not with us, you know that Sac State has been a huge story all year. But if we're going to get soup to nuts with it, they got a good coach. And if you're a Hornets fan, get up, because we don't know how long any of this stuff in college football is going to last. We don't know what, and tomorrow could bring the biggest change in college football, and we all understand that. So just try to take some pleasure and pride in the fact that you landed a big fish.
I like to think soup to nuts means putting your nuts in some soup. Do you think that that's what it means?
Every time I say that phrase, I'm like, I should have just had a better one. There has to be
it's
a better way.
It's a good phrase. The people who use it often use it way too much. It's one of those phrases where like, okay, that's the fourth time you've said that.
You know what else? Have you met a this, that, and the other person?
That's a bad one.
That is one that they will throw in every third sentence. Well, this, that, and the other. I don't know this. You're not telling me that.
It's like a yada, yada, yada.
And the other is just floating in obscurity. I'm tired of that. No more soup to nuts for me.
Well, we're going to get nuts to soup with these other two coaching moves. 2 departures. It's always sad when we see coaches move up to the FBS, but you also take a little bit of pride in knowing that they're getting their shot. And it's even more fun when you get these Twitter engagements with these guys, and a few years down the line, they're getting a big job. Coach Eck is one of those coaches that I will continue to root for. He took the New Mexico job. Thomas Ford, who was the Oregon State running backs coach this past year, will be stepping in for the Vandals. Wishing the best for Coach Eck. I think that Coach Eck is a massive riser. It's a little disappointing that he couldn't have ended up with South Dakota State because he was the South Dakota State DC, I believe, when Stiegelmeier was there, and he left to go to Idaho. That would have been a no-brainer, but credit to him for New Mexico grabbing. I find it hard to believe that New Mexico's got more money to throw around than South Dakota State.
I called it lateral when it first happened, and that wasn't like – it was never intended to be I don't like Coach Eck because he went to New Mexico. It's just that I thought he was such a good coach. He could have done – if he was moving up and out of the FCS, I thought he could have gone to a better school than New Mexico and actually, really done big things, whereas New Mexico – could be playing in the big sky at times. So I'm fine with Coach Eck going there. We'll see what happens. But yeah, he's been a great dude to be able to cover on this show and in the FCS, and someone that you're definitely going to want to track, because I would wager that New Mexico is not his last stop on his ascent.
He's a former Wisconsin offensive lineman. I'm just
I think that is not too big of a conclusion to need to jump to either.
What if New Mexico takes the world by storm and they're just 10-2, dominating everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Coach Eck hits the ground running. Luke Fickell, not this year, but the following year, gets fired. I'm just saying, if we see Coach Eck.
A lot of money in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of pressure at Wisconsin. A lot of hard schedules at Wisconsin that wouldn't bode well for Mr. Luke Fickell. That's tough for him. All right, Mr. Eck, let's see what you got.
Jason Eck gives me big time Brett Bielema vibes.
Oh yeah,
I don't but in a very fun way.
His
both former Big Ten linemen.
His interactions with the team were always fun. It was always great to see. It felt like the players really loved him. He's just a good ball coach to be able to track, and I think a lot of fans of his are lucky to have been able to track him in. Well, you know what? I can't keep on talking because all I can think about is him going to coach in Wisconsin now and becoming the big cheese.
In the next 10 years,
take the Signetti route. Just jump right to it. Get in the Big Ten. Make the Big Ten FCS.
Get him in there.
FCS North.
Hell yes. This one was not shocking because at a certain point, we knew that this guy was going to end up moving.
Yeah.
Tennessee State head coach Eddie George, or also known as elite Ohio State and Tennessee Titan running back Eddie George, after a really successful stint at Tennessee State, he's leaving. He's going to Bowling Green. He's going back to Ohio. Reggie Barlow, who was the DC Defenders head coach, is no, I think DC Defenders. I wrote that down wrong. I'm going to double check that. But
gotcha.
Ended up pulling an experienced coach. Tennessee State, I think, would be fine in this swap here, but I'm excited for Eddie George. I'm excited for what he's going to do. Is a very different version of Deion Sanders because he's not as outspoken, but it's always fun watching former players succeed.
When I was at Bowling Green, I was there for their spring game, I believe, afterwards. And there was a line out the door to go speak with Eddie George. And I know it's in Ohio, and there were a lot of people there that had Eddie George Ohio State jerseys, but there was a ton of Bowling Green fans. And you wouldn't have been able to see that if he hadn't had such great success at Tennessee State, if he didn't take it seriously, actually dive into being a coach, the way that he carries himself. It's not like a player that is a coach. He is a coach now. You can feel it. The way he walks, was eating dinner, and he walked into the same restaurant as me, and he just had the air of, I'm the head ball coach. So it's going to be great to see with him. Tennessee State was a great story last year. And keep on. I really want more NFL greats that want to get into coaching. Go work with these FCS guys because you make them so much better. You instill a lot of wisdom in them, and you fast track yourself to wherever you want to go. You're not getting buried as a football analyst at Auburn just for 3 years, gutting it out and playing golf. If you really want to coach, you start down in FCS and you learn how that process works.
Barlow, actually, I had it right. And I am disappointed in myself for not paying closer attention to this when it happened. He was the DC Defenders head coach. He was the coach of the year in the XFL in 2023 when the Defenders were 9-1. So this is a really underrated hire.
Yeah.
This is a really, really underrated hire, and there's been a bit more of an aggressive commitment to athletics from Tennessee State recently. If they don't lose a step and they end up being like another team that's knocking on the door in the playoff again, and they're just as good as they were last year, wouldn't be shocked. He's a former Alabama State football player, so he gets it. Yeah, he totally gets it. So I think that this is great for Tennessee State. All right, let's talk about conference realignment moves because this has been a shit show, and we're getting a lot of chirps from our typical favorite listeners about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The CAS is a calamitous mess right now. It has got Pac-12 vibes on it a little bit. I trust Joey D'Antonio to get this thing sorted because I think that he is the right man with the right vision, and I think that he's always done some great things. I think there's a lot of impatience and a lot of cowards that are deciding to leave and to go do other shit. I'm talking about Richmond, William & Mary, and Villanova moving on, going to the Patriot League. They added Sacred Heart, which a lot of people clowned on. They are an athletic department that has committed money towards their football program. But as long as the CAA still has Stony Brook, they've got Albany, UNH, and Rhode Island being aggressive as they are right now, they're going to be fine.
They will. But it's a big shakeup. Villanova felt like a big piece of the CAA. William & Mary did as well. And Richmond, I think, got buried a bit, but Richmond turned in some really good years in the CAA also. It's been a lot of change in this conference since we were playing in it.
They're so weak now. You guys can't say anything good about the CAA. Yeah, screw that.
I'm sure that if we were to go into the closet of every other conference and really crunch some numbies about who's really weaker and scale it, you'd be just as shocked as a lot of people would be.
Well, okay. Well, the Missouri Valley and the Big Sky are much stronger at the current moment.
Not counting them. Counting all the others.
Yeah, the other ones. No. This is what would bug the crap out of me is people were going, oh, the SoCon is so much better than the CAA. Off of what logic? It took URI having an incredibly banged up quarterback situation to play as poorly as they did against Mercer.
Yeah.
They were going to beat Mercer.
They would have beat Mercer, and Mercer had a great defense last year, and
Yeah.
Mercer is good. And Mercer is a program that is on the rise and is building. But full Rhode Island, top to bottom. Sorry, Mercer.
No.
Enjoy.
Devin Farrell's playing that game. It's a completely different story.
Enjoy your mom's Thanksgiving turkey because you're getting home. Or I guess, when would that be taking place?
I don't know.
Are they home in time for Christmas? For the Christmas ham?
I think it's a little too early for them to be in time.
Okay, well, then you're getting back in time for finals. That's what you get to do, Mercer.
I think they're taking finals no matter what. I don't know if Mercer's not getting the Ohio State treatment.
If I was playing on Mercer with that defense, I'd demand it. I'd demand the Ohio State treatment.
Oh, I'm not going to be able to take my final. I'm going to be, we're playing in a playoff game.
We're giving up like 13 points a game.
Professor just looks and goes, what the fuck did you just say to me?
Yeah.
What did you just say to me? I said that we got a playoff game. We're playing against. Shut up and sit down.
Zip it. Hey, get that pencil moving too. I mean, this is a laptop-free class.
God, obviously joking. All right, let's get to two more pieces of news. Southern Utah Tech making the Big Sky the Super Utah Conference.
Nice.
Got a whole lot of Utah going there. I don't. This doesn't really do a whole lot for me.
It's fine. They're
okay programs.
Southern Utah was way better last year. Good for them. I'm happy for Jamie Williams and his championing of that team. We'll see. We'll have to see what happens with the Big Sky this year. It's going to be crazy. We know there's always a team. There's always some team that just decides to quit on the year, and there's a team that decides to make it their year. Will it be Southern Utah and Utah Tech? I think they might just be in the middle. They'll be in the Big Sky.
The last one that I alluded to earlier, Sac State tried to move up to the FBS. They tried to do it pretty rapidly, pretty quickly. For some reason, amidst this Pac-12 realignment where they're rebolstering themselves, Sac State suddenly stood up, put both hands in the air and said, oh, over here. They've been an pretty good football program. They've had a little bit of success recently. Really bad year last year since Troy Taylor left. But they now are showing that they've got all this money that nobody knew that they had.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting 4-star recruits to commit because they also claimed they tried to push this one, all the beat reporters for National College Football, and push them that they had a $30 million NIL budget, which I don't know if that's true. Seems a little bit wishful. There's a lot of money to be thrown around in Sacramento because of where it's located near San Francisco. A lot of tech money over there. I don't know how rich the alumni base is, but they really want to move up. Their waiver got denied, though. And Sac State notified the Big Sky that they're intending to leave the FCS at some point. They're going to be an independent. I don't know how soon they're going to be able to move up, but it's pretty disappointing when you're talking all this big game and then you get told to shut up and sit down.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like you're
not getting the bar, man. You're 20. You're like a month away from being 21, and you're like, I'm there. Well, you're not there yet. No, you're technically not there, and because you handed me your real ID, and we got to really see the bouncers being the real decision makers. When they took a look at that ID, I think they said, no, you're not 21 yet. So you're going to have to sit and wait. Then. Sac State was disappointing last year. They're a team every year that you're sitting here like, man, maybe they got some juice. Maybe they got some guys. Maybe they can actually make the run. They have a couple really good games. Then they start dropping the weird ones. You're like, okay, that one's a weird one. And then they'll get back on track. Then they'll just start dropping and dropping. I was sick of their game last year. Sick of it. And They performed poorly, so we'll see what happens. I like FCS teams, even if they're moving, committing to football, committing money to the programs. I'm going to support that stuff, even if they don't stay in the FCS forever. It's the real world. We got to accept it. But the clown show, I don't know if the FCS can handle many more of those.
No. Yeah, we need to lock in here. Sac State, we need to lock in. It's kind of like you look at how long it took Delaware to move up. That was a process. Yeah, it wasn't immediate. It's going to take a few years, but I'm wishing them the best of luck. We'll see.
I hope they're exciting this year. I hope they're good. I hope that
they're.
I hope the players they added are good.
I had them ranked high. I had them ranked pretty high. Jane Rashada is going to be slanging it for Sac State this year. All right, we're going to get to part 2, so stay tuned for that. Hit that like button and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review at Joe DeLeone at Sanderson Radio. We'll talk to you later.